Hey guys, it's Andrea. Welcome back to the channel. So guys, this is one that I thought I'd revisit, and it's disability and emotions. As I said, this year, going to revisit a few topics, widen the channel's scope. And so guys, this is one that is a bit of a difficult one, and that is because we all have emotions. And I think, and this is just me, I think that disability and emotions isn't talked about enough because it's messy, it's difficult, people get upset from both sides. So that is people with disabilities and those who are caring with them. And this is a fundamental thing I think we need to realise is that people with disabilities have emotions. People aren't happy all the time. That's not a reflection of life. And people with disabilities are capable of much more than we're given credit for. In fact, it can be quite demeaning and belittling when it's celebrated for us doing our normal everyday things. For some person with complex and challenging needs, that does need to be celebrated, but for others, it's just demeaning. Guys, there's two things that I want to touch on in this video. One is how to deal with those emotions in a positive way that doesn't affect others. Because I saw a really good infographic over on LinkedIn by the guys at Open Futures Learning. I'll try and link it down below to their site. And it was about a person with an intellectual disability getting angry and throwing a cup against the wall. And the fact that it would be on his file for the rest of his life. And that's going to fundamentally change the way people support him. But if someone without an intellectual disability does that, there's going to be no change because he might have done it in the privacy of his own home. Anger is a perfectly natural and reasonable emotion. So, guys, just put yourself in someone with an intellectual disability shoes. So, their day in a group home generally, and I'll use group home because that's more internationally recognised, is very structured. There is limited freedom as well. So imagine the frustration that you can't choose what you're having for breakfast, you can't choose your bedtime, you can't choose, or you have limited options for hobbies because you might not have the space. So just think and reflect on that for a minute because we'll come back to that. So this is something that we need to talk about in the way that a support worker handles these emotions when someone is, I believe the technical term is, and I will check it, acting out. Acting out, we need to remember that all behaviour is a form of communication. And negative emotions are a part of life. We can't be happy all the time. And that's something that we need to remember. There's some fantastic group homes and SIL homes that are out there that are providing enrichment, that are providing growth, and you can see that. So I'm going to do a shout out to them. But I'm finding that the more research I do, the more I'm finding that this goes back to the systemic undertraining of support workers. They don't know how to de-escalate. And so, guys, the first one is listen. Simply listen to what they're going through. The second one is to not judge. not judge what they're going through. Then figure out, and this might be asking them, do they just want someone to listen, or do they want someone to solve the problem? Two very, very different things. So do you want them to listen or to solve the problem? Then the next one is, how educated are they? Because they actually might be more educated than you. And for support workers, take that as a learning opportunity. Remember that support workers are put in a position of power. So remember how you felt at school or uni or TAFE when the teacher had power over you. So imagine your autonomy being taken away to a limited degree for your own safety. There is a limited number of support workers out there who do abuse this power. And so we need to be aware of that. And there are now some really good alternatives coming out to guardianship. So guardianship in Australia is seen as a last resort. It is seen as a restrictive practice. Restrictive practices are also something that might trigger a person's negative emotions. And once a restrictive practice is put in place, it's very hard to have it removed. Guys, this is where the infographic comes into play. That imagine, because you got angry once, that is then on your record for the rest of your life. How would you feel when the first thing that someone reads about you, that they make a judgment that, okay, I've got to be careful of this person's anger? Anger is a healthy emotion. Negative emotions help us to acknowledge that there's something wrong, something needs to change, we need to work on something. And so guys, then you see that we get to the flip side of things, that the support workers want us to be happy all the time. This isn't realistic. People grieve. They grieve the loss of autonomy. They grieve needing the extra support. They get frustrated that they need the extra support. The first rule of de-escalation is to not take it personally. The second rule is to listen with your whole body. Third is to not judge. I'm finding that I'm fighting a battle with one set of support workers that they are quite judgmental. And this is quite challenging for me to deal with. But then we get some lovely, understanding, caring support workers who've grown up around disability. And they get that you're not going to be happy all the time, and that trying to cheer you up all the time is pointless, and that then in de-escalation is distracting the person, and so encouraging them, redirecting them. So that might be for someone who has more capabilities than another person, might be helping them with a hobby. It might be helping them stay organised. It might be helping them set up a business. There's lots that you can do that are not tokenistic. So guys, please like, share and subscribe. That really helps me to get into the algorithm. And guys, if you can, I've got the Patreon back up and running as well.